Amanda stared at the blood on her hands, her husband's blood. She was numb, she could still see the deep crimson upon them. Just let that sensory language sink in for a second. This is literally how the story opens. Amanda is completely engulfed in this profound grief after her husband, Jed, dies from tuberculosis. There's no slow buildup here. It just drops us straight into a moment of absolute emotional paralysis.
Which brings us to a really critical question, something I want you to keep in the back of your mind as we go through this explainer. When survival is literally on the line, what would you risk to save your family? It's a fundamental question of human instinct, right? And it is exactly the dilemma hitting our protagonists.
So, here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with the collision of desperation, move into building a misfit family, hit the danger and the climax, explore the resolution and healing, and then wrap things up with some deep dive themes.
All right, part 1, collision of desperation, two worlds collapsing.
So, we find ourselves in Wharton City, Arizona, and our two main characters are just completely painted into a corner. On one hand, you've got Amanda's emotional bankruptcy. She's a grieving widow with a 5-year-old son, Samuel, and she's carrying around this massive weight, this deeply internalized feeling that she is just a burden to everyone. Then, on the flip side, we have Brandon's financial bankruptcy. He's a rancher staring down foreclosure from this incredibly slimy banker named Mr. Perkins. Brandon desperately needs cattle to survive an upcoming auction. So look at that contrast. Amanda needs protection for her son, while Brandon absolutely needs her late husband's cattle to save his legacy. Two huge, very different problems.
And the whole catalyst for the plot happens right here. Brandon is at the general store, and he overhears some local gossip. People are whispering that Amanda's basically going to be forced to marry the very first man who offers her any kind of security. And boom, a light bulb goes off for Brandon. A marriage of convenience. It could instantly solve both of their monumental problems in one fell swoop. He gets the cattle he needs, and she gets the security she desperately wants.
But as you can probably guess, the reality of this arrangement is, well, it's incredibly stark. Their wedding day is the definition of awkward and pragmatic. There's absolutely no sweeping romance here. At the altar, Brandon literally has to twist and pull to pry Jed's wedding band off Amanda's finger just so he can slide his own on. It's harsh, right? It's a deal utterly devoid of romance, driven 100% by sheer necessity.
Moving on to part 2, building a misfit family, strangers under one roof.
So, the wedding wraps up, and Amanda and her son Samuel don't just quietly move in with Brandon. Oh no, they are thrust right into this wild, colorful, misfit group of riffraff that makes up the ranch. We've got wise Uncle Owen, the very authoritative cook, who, let's be real, clearly runs the show, and these rough-around-the-edges ranch hands, Slim, Dan, and Little Cutie. This is the cast surrounding Amanda and Samuel as they try to figure out a deeply jarring new normal. Now, here is the crucial takeaway. Physical proximity does not automatically equal emotional closeness. The friction is immediate. Brandon is hyper-protective of the ranch. He guards the finances like a hawk, completely shutting Amanda out of the kind of work she used to do with their late husband. And meanwhile, Amanda, who has been completely starved of affection, really struggles to process Brandon's sudden, weird moments of growing tenderness. Their whole convenient arrangement is severely, severely tested by this mutual lack of trust. But, just as they are sort of trying to untangle their messy domestic struggles, the tides turn. We suddenly shift from this internal friction inside the house to massive, external, life-threatening stakes crashing down on the ranch. Which brings us to part 3, danger and the climax. The walls close in.
And man, these threats escalate rapidly. First up, the ranch gets hit by violent outlaw raids, including, believe it or not, an appearance by a young Billy the Kid. They assault the hands and steal the exact cattle Brandon desperately needed. Next, banker Perkins slithers in with a smug proposition, basically demanding Brandon just hand over the ranch entirely. But the absolute worst threat happens from within. 5-year-old Samuel goes missing. He feels this new life is a betrayal to his late father, so he just takes off into the harsh, unforgiving mountain landscape. Samuel, this is not a time to play games. Gosh, those words just perfectly capture the absolute sinking panic of a mother realizing her child isn't just playing hide and seek, he's lost in a dangerous wilderness. This sets the entire stage for the story's ultimate emotional payoff. And that emotional peak? It hits right here, at the bottom of a steep, dangerous ravine. Brandon finally finds Samuel, but the boy has a broken leg and is completely trapped. So Brandon has to take a massive leap of faith, literally putting his own life on the line to pull the boy to safety.
Okay, let's take a breath and look at part 4, resolution and healing, from convenience to love.
In the aftermath of all that chaos, the core conflicts just resolve so beautifully. By risking his life for Samuel, Brandon totally shatters that cold, transactional nature of their marriage. He proves he's a true, selfless father figure. And during that terrifying search, Amanda actually has a massive spiritual epiphany. She finally truly sheds that toxic childhood lie that she is nothing but a burden. It's incredible. With their efforts finally united, the ranch is saved at the cattle auction, and the family is truly knit together.
And the epilogue delivers these incredibly validating, warm details. Little Samuel officially asks if he can start calling Brandon Pa, and later on, the couple welcomes a baby daughter, Louise. It is just a complete, beautiful transformation into a true, loving family unit.
Finally, we arrive at part 5, deep dive themes, what we can learn.
So what does this all mean for us? Let's break down the core takeaways. First up is redefining convenience. The big lesson here is that vulnerability can actually transform even the most transactional, cold relationships into genuine vehicles for grace. Second, the burden of the past. Amanda's journey is a powerful reminder that true healing actually requires us to actively shed the internalized lies of our past traumas. You have to let them go. And third, faith and resilience. Set against that brutal Arizona landscape, dodging outlaws and debt, the book shows us that faith isn't just about easy prayers, right? It's demonstrated through relentless, gritty persistence. Honestly, Amanda and Brandon's resilience is the true beating heart of this novel.
So I want to leave you with a provocative thought to chew on. When you find yourself completely forced into a corner, what convenient risk could end up saving you? Think about it, because sometimes the choices we make purely out of desperation turn out to be the exact ones that transform our lives the most. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and as always, keep learning.